Hi, my name is Zulnak Gupta and today I'm going to talk about the environmental effects of hydraulic fracturing. So what is hydraulic fracturing? It's a process through which a liquid that contains mainly water and other elements like sand and other chemicals, it's injected at high pressure into the ground to create cracks in the rocks so that natural gas can be released and hence flow more easily. The first experiment of fracturing was done back in 1947, but the first time it was commercially successful as well as applicable was back in 1950. So, as we know, there are always two sides to the coin, and this has been an ongoing debate since decades regarding the advantages and the limitations of fracking. So, there has been a growth in the economy. Since the natural gas reserves have gone up, there has been a reduced dependence on foreign oil, like those in Saudi Arabia and Russia. There have been less carbon emissions because solely due to the fact that none of the fossil fuels are burnt in the process of fracking. A huge advantage in this regard is the creation of jobs because this process includes drilling as well as transportation of the material. So a huge amount of skilled workers, engineers and other people are employed in the process. Also, there are cons as well. There's this water wastage aspect because millions of gallons of water, in fact, are needed for a single fracking activity, uh, which goes on to show you that there can be a decrease in water supply. Uh, Also, the health of the workers is a huge concern because since the fracking liquid contains many harmful chemicals, it can be a potential risk for the workers. It's also really dangerous to the environment because there is extreme noise pollution and carbon emission is still present due to the tankers that transport the material to and fro from the site. There have been impacts on the environment as well because, as I mentioned before, due to the immense amount of water that is wasted in a single fracking activity, there always is a supply shortage, and this in turn leads to droughts in the surrounding areas. Also, when the wastewater is treated, it needs to be disposed as well sometimes, and this disposal activity causes seismic activity, which in turn leads to earthquakes. Water contamination is also a huge deal because there's always this underlying fear that chemicals in the fracking liquid can get into the water pipes beneath the surface and cause diseases to the people who are consuming that water. Uh, Experiments have also shown that there's this leakage of methane and other volatile organic compounds which has accompanied the process of fracking. There's also a ridiculous amount of costs associated with fracking. For example, the costs associated with fracking, methane emission, which causes ozone smog. It's roughly $1,648 per ton of nitrous oxide and VOCs as a financial implication for the people who are affected. It's even more in certain areas like in Dallas, Fort Worth, and surrounding areas of Texas. In 2012, rather, oil companies in Colorado paid $3,300 for an acre foot of water, which is a huge increase. As I mentioned before, since it can pollute water sources, water treatment costs are also really high. For example, a water filtration plant in New York City can cost you approximately $6 billion, which is a staggering amount. There have been a variety of solutions suggested to tackle this problem of fracking because new technologies for the treatment of water that comes out of the well are being worked on. For example, membrane distillation, when we supply a huge amount of heat and decreased pressure to evaporate the water vapor and in turn purify the water. Companies are also using propane and other chemicals like ferric sulfate in place of water as a fracking liquid to avoid water contamination because they are relatively benign. I generally believe that renewable technology will help tackle this problem in the long run.